This lecture will be on weather map symbols and how to read weather maps. Weather map symbols can be found in Chapter 12, Section 10 of your textbook. Each weather station will collect a series of data and put it onto the weather map that looks like this. Each weather station is going to have a circle, and on each corner of the circle will give you specific types of data. In the upper left-hand corner, and always in the upper left-hand corner, you'll get temperature. So this number 64 represents the temperature. So this weather station has a temperature of 64 degrees. Just below the temperature is the weather symbol. In the bottom left-hand corner, the number here represents the dew point temperature. The image in the center of the circle will represent the cloud cover. If it's a completely blank circle, that means we have clear skies. If it's fully shaded in, then that would mean we have overcast skies. Here we have 3/4 of it filled in, so it would be mostly cloudy. In the upper right-hand corner is the sea level pressure. This would be the pressure if the station were at sea level. Remember, sea level pressure is typically around 1,000 to 1,013. Note that how small this looks like. This is coded. We all know that the sea level pressures are going to be in the 900s typically to 1,000s, so the first number over here we actually delete and just use the last 3. So this would be 1002.7. I'll explain the rule here on the next slide. If the reported number is less than 500, that means it's missing the 9. So you add a 9 on the front and then move the decimal 1 spot to the left. So 827 really becomes 982.7. If the reported value is less than 500, that means it's missing the 10. So in the previous example, the number was 027, so add a 10 on the front, 1002, and again move the decimal point 1 spot to the left. Remember to check your answer at the end. It should always be around 1,000. The next thing we're going to focus on is the wind barb. Now this will change direction based off of the way the wind is coming from. Remember, winds are named for the direction they're coming from, so it looks a little counterintuitive. So the wind is actually coming from the southeast and moving towards the northwest. If my barb was over here, it would be coming from the southwest and moving towards the northeast. So this barb will change direction depending on the direction of the wind. The lines coming off of the wind barb will tell you the wind speed. Generally, this is 5 knots and this is 10 knots, so this will be a total of 15 knots. So far, what I showed you was a simplified version. It's really the bare bones of what stations will report on. This would be a fully filled out station model. Now, we're not going to get into all of these numbers. We're just going to focus on the temperature, the dew point, the pressure, and the wind barb, and the circle in the middle. So here's a reference to the different types of symbols you might see on a weather map. Over here we have sky cover. So like I said, an empty circle will be clear. Scatter would look like a quarter. Broken or mostly cloudy would be 3/4, and completely overcast would be a full circle filled in. In terms of wind, if we don't have any wind, you'll see a circle inside another circle. 1 to 2 knots, you don't see this too much, will be just a straight line. Once you hit 5 knots, you see that little one. Now, if you have one by itself, it might be hard to determine whether it's a small line or a large line. But note the small line is moved downward a little bit on the wind barb. It's not quite at the end. So the 10 knot line will always be at the end. So for something down here, you can add up. This would be 10, 20, and 5. So that'd be 25 knots. Remember our symbols for our fronts. Cold front with the triangles like icicles. The semicircles will be for the warm fronts. Remember the sweat. Stationary fronts have the circles and triangles on opposite sides. occluded front, they're going to have the triangles and circles on the same side. You might see squall line or dry line symbols on the map. And then the weather symbols, you might see some, rain showers. Here's your thunderstorm that looks like lightning coming down. If we have really high winds, 50 knots is represented by a triangle. Obscured sky cover, that would mean the weather station is obscured. Maybe the camera's being blocked or they don't have any data. Okay, this next portion of this lecture is weather maps. So we're just going to take all the stuff we just talked about and put it onto a map to figure out where the fronts are and what kind of weather's happening in different locations. This can be found in Chapter 12, Section 11 in your textbook. A weather map shows the weather conditions for multiple locations. Weather maps show the temperature, cloud cover, wind speed, wind direction, precipitation, and fronts, everything we just talked about so far. They're going to place it on the map. Weather maps usually have isobars line. Remember, isobars are lines of equal pressure. Iso means equal, bar means pressure. But they also all have isotherms. Iso again means equal, therm means heat or temperature. So it's a line of equal temperature. High pressure systems are usually indicated by a capital H, and they're associated with sunny or clear skies. Low pressure systems are indicated with a capital L, and they're associated with cloudy and rainy conditions with your nimbostratus clouds. Pressure systems usually move from west to east because we live in the prevailing westerlies. That's the global wind pattern that most of the United States is located in. So if you want to look to see what kind of weather is heading our way, you look to the west of Pennsylvania. So here's a simplified weather map. The lines here are your isobars. So we have a low pressure system here. The symbol represents a hurricane. So there's a hurricane out in the Caribbean Sea. Other things you might see, here's your cold front coming through. Notice it's warm in front of the front, but cold behind the front. So we can expect Chicago to get colder. Here's our stationary front. So I have an air mass here that's not moving and an air mass here that's not moving. A couple of other things, you can see the circles. Some have clear skies, some have cloudy skies, some are about 50-50.